Okay guys, I wanted to make this video to clarify the 5 reasons why I quit Guild Wars 2, because there have been a lot of rumors going around and people are speculating, and I'd rather be upfront and clear with my reasoning. I'm going to go through the main core issues that I think the game has, and then I'm going to talk about my potential future with the game and what I think of the future for ArenaNet. First off, I do want to say that Guild Wars 2 is a very good game. I do stand by the fact that the combat system is arguably my favourite, with animations being preferable to that of a global cooldown system. Putting this combat system into any game mode makes the game pretty much inherently fun to play, and this is true for the majority of classes that exist in the game. Many elements of Guild Wars 2 are enjoyable, even as a PvPer. The open world and raid content have their perks and excitement factors, but that's especially when you're a new player. My opinion of the game as a veteran with 4,000 hours is somewhat negatively impacted due to a few factors. I want to list those so it's very clear as to my stance on the game. These are essentially my reasons for leaving Guild Wars 2 as a regular content creator. So I'm just going to get right into it. So first off, it's about ArenaNet continuing to ignore my favorite game mode, of which obviously I'm most invested into, and that is PvP. Whether you take that in the world versus world format or you take it in the structured PvP sense, it is largely neglected. There is only so long that players can endure nothing new to look forward to, or rushed uninformed balance decisions, and an obvious overall complete disregard for the game modes. When you compare the release schedule of Living World and PvE content to that of the PvP and World v World scenes, there's a clear favourite in the eyes of ArenaNet. World vs. World and PvP haven't seen any big updates for 6 and 3 years respectively. In comparison, raids receive updates every 9 months and fractals every 6, and the Living World episodes every 3. Yet, PvP stands on the same game mode that was released with the original Guild Wars 2. This hurts both as a content creator and a player. We outcry about insanely imbalanced classes. We're met with stagnant metas that last over a year, with absolutely no changes, and our requests are ignored. And this is where I used to struggle with my continued daily PvP content. I mean, just take a look at the monthly automated tournament from July. It's been cancelled due to a bug that's been existing for a very, very long time, and even August might fail to have one as well. This bug was left unresolved, and as a result, people were locked in maps and could not exit. It's as if they just did not care because it's in PvP. If this was in Living World, it would not have happened, and I don't agree with their decisions or how they treat the game mode or the community that exists within PvP. Number 2. The cash cow milking of the community. A cash cow is a business term which in simple terms is comparing a business or operation to that of a cow being milked. The game actively promotes gem store content and forces things into loot box releases, whilst quite honestly leaving the other areas void of new skins or time investments. Allow me to clarify, yet some of these might be generalizations. So, for example, mount skins are unobtainable in the game outside of the gem store. Outfits are also unobtainable outside of the gem store. Most glittery, fancy particle effects are unobtainable outside of the gem store, despite the obvious being legendaries. Now, from a business perspective, I understand why ArenaNet are doing this. The game is rather old, has a casual player base, and ArenaNet has to keep their bottom line healthy. However, they monetize borderline all forms of player interest, or they force them behind insanely ridiculous gambling odds to the point where they are almost inaccessible. For example, the Chak Egg Sack. I feel that they don't give people enough of an incentive to actually play the game to achieve these skins, only to buy them from the gem store. I know that weapon collections do exist in the game, but they're never flashy. They always do the bare minimum. My question is, where does all of this additional income actually go? Because it isn't being shared into every game mode. From the quarterly reports, we know that they're earning good money, but they still struggle with providing sufficient resources to maintain each game mode. And this honestly just makes it worse for me knowing the state that PvP is in. Number 3 is Endgame and Replayability. So, due to the nature of what I do or did as a content creator, I need replayable game modes and I need something fresh to at least make it somewhat interesting for the viewer. Naturally, after my 18th monthly automated tournament cast and my god knows how many daily automated tournament casts I'd done, I felt like I was entirely void of fresh content. It got to the point where interesting content consisted of broken things that the developers managed to sneak into PvP balance patches whilst ignoring obvious broken builds for some bizarre reason. There's just no real reason to repeat anything, and that is detrimental to something which goes through long-term content droughts. Players can interact with the events, collections, and then essentially throw away the living story maps into the void because there's no reason to go back. It provides a step in the lore, and I understand people enjoy their story. But in terms of replayability, it virtually has none. I find this to be a poor long-term investment whilst other game modes actively suffer. And I don't like that. Number 4 is lack of marketing, company transparency, and community interaction. This one is a pretty big thorn in my paw if I'm brutally honest. Despite the obvious engagements with people at ArenaNet that I have had personally and respect, I feel like there is an unfortunate ignorance. Community events, unless held to specific standards, are disregarded or treated with irrelevance. Scenes aren't supported or given the chance to become large scale, and this ultimately damages the community efforts and motivation. Until very recently, the avenues of marketing are typically somewhat outdated and lack innovation or modern tendencies. It took ArenaNet 6 years to use some form of CGI cinematic for an advertisement. This mobile ad, however, was a step in the right direction. My opinion is that the typical gamer is found on the internet, on YouTube, on Twitch, whatever the platform, and these are free advertising platforms at ArenaNet's disposal. All they have to do is give people a reason to be looking for them. Sadly, people don't go looking, evidently. To give people a reason, something like Twitch drops, Twitch Prime skins in-game, hype up YouTube cinematics, true CGI like Final Fantasy XIV, even a meme or two, but nope, they just let their competition do that. And this is where it feels like ArenaNet doesn't actually have an online presence. As far as transparency goes, we never know how they truly feel, or why they don't do things, nor do we know what's coming or if they've listened to community discussions. They have begun to be more transparent with roadmaps, however, this was indeed short-lived, and that's tough to deal with, both as a content creator and a player. People stated how much they enjoyed their transparency, but ArenaNet have closed their windows and doors yet again. We still don't know what's coming in Living World Season 5. It's intentionally vague, and we have no idea if they intend to create a new intellectual property or even Guild Wars 3. There's no news, nothing. People want to know what's happening. There isn't even a start date. It's always vague, and it's always ambiguous. And I need to know more. Now, this is my final reason. Cannibalistic tendencies within the Guild Wars 2 community. Now, I want to be explicitly clear that that does not mean everybody. As a PvP content creator, I'm already considered to be somewhat a bit of an outcast. The Reddit community is quite focused on PvE, Living World, and well, artwork and memes. When posting PvP community events, guides, and even my Should You Play Guild Wars 2 in 2019 video, creators are met with conflict and negativity, with a lot of downvotes, which both impact your exposure and, well, your attitude regarding providing for that said community. I and many others in the scene worked very hard to provide content that was both for learning and enjoyment, and to grow a scene that was, and still is, on its last legs. The immediate refusal of this material, regardless of the nature of intent due to the game mode, is very cannibalistic. And in the same breath, they want to hope and pray for Guild Wars 2 to take off and have a long-lasting future. Compare my Q&A for PvP beginners with 56 points and 80% upvotes versus a pencil-drawn Sylvari with 350 and a higher upvote percentage. It's astounding. When leaving after 18 months in the partner program and a number of guides and featured pieces, I was met with, "Who are you anyway? Can't have been that important, what a crybaby." That's what I got for the efforts I'd made on a daily basis, and for the thousands of new players I personally was responsible for coming to Guild Wars 2. If ArenaNet had made more of an effort showcasing content and their partners within the game, then more people might have seen what impact we generated within the PvP scene. And perhaps then the community wouldn't attempt to make mockeries of those who work hard to enable it. Ultimately, it feels like a large portion of the player base don't actually want content creators. I hope you all are now aware of my reasons for departing Guild Wars 2 for the time being, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I know that perhaps I've been unclear in the past, and I needed to make something just to clarify and remove any rumors from the equation. I truly do love the game, and I love what I created, and for whom I created it for. But as a veteran, as a long term player, and a content creator, there just is not sufficient enough content or direction for me to apply my time to it. If these directions change or improve, I could consider to create video content irregularly to both aid that change and return to my passion. As a brand new player, you'll have hours and hours of gameplay and exploration, and I envy that of you. From a cost to content hours comparison, it's an absolute no-brainer to try out Guild Wars 2. But I implore you, when the content runs out, log out. Don't force yourself to play when there's nothing there for you anymore. The game is intended to be played in short bursts. It's not like that of a vertical progression MMO. Thanks for listening, and I'm glad that I was able to clear the air. You'll see me soon, I'm sure. Thank you, guys.